Yeah, so tonight, Michael's going to tell us how he bought his deal at a tax sale. We're going to bring him up. I got to get some sound effects, man.
How's it
Michael,
going?
what a show.
I'm good. How are you? I love the energy.
I really appreciate you taking the time to hop in here and share your experience with everybody because a lot of people ask about it all the time. And right now, I was just reading an article about Floridians going back to work at age 70. They're having a tough time making ends meet because people are living longer now, but they're not outliving their money. They're looking for ways to earn some extra money. And now they have to go back into the work field and figure out a way to make ends meet. Investing in real estate can really help you long term because you're finding an asset that appreciates. People are going to always need a place to live. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into the real estate game. I know you have a great story, and then we'll dig into your property.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, two quick corrections actually. I got my first on estate property via an auction. Yeah. So, the first property I obtained was driving for dollars. My regular profession, I've been a technical or corporate recruiter for about 10 years. Shortly after I graduated college, I started in that line of work, had a great deal of success in it. I've worked for local companies in Denver, the Atlanta metro area, and then most recently with the startup. I'm based out of San Francisco. So I've done it for 10 years. I've done it for Google as a contractor for Morgan Stanley. And like I said, most recently with the startup. And about the end of last year, that all came to an end. I already had my foot in real estate. Let me see what I can do. I love recruiting, but I don't love corporate culture. So here I am in real estate. I had another business venture that got hampered when COVID happened. So that kind of changed the trajectory for a lot of people. Real estate could potentially help with that real estate investment. When I tell people I'm interested in real estate, they think real estate agent, which I think would be great for me or my wife to become one. But I said, actually, I like the investment side of this. I don't
Yeah.
want to show people 100 homes and for them to be like, hey, I'm not interested in either one of them. Sorry for your time. I fell into it. I started driving around looking at different properties. I was aware that you could buy a property online, go to an auction, go to the tax liens, send out mailers, just a variety of strategies. I started driving around and I noticed I didn't have a ton of money to throw at something I didn't have experience with. For about 1 year, I did as much research, like Bigger Pockets, people on YouTube. I spoke to people I knew who were investors, getting little bits of information from them. I spent about a year researching as much as possible before I pulled the trigger. And actually, that's how we met. The first property that I started to ink a deal on was an HOA condo in downtown Atlanta. I saw the properties boarded up. I sent out a mail to every single owner. Unfortunately, they decided to list with a realtor, but I already did all my research on the property, how much taxes, what debt was owed on the property. I was still able to buy it, even though I initiated with them as an off market and they listed it. I quickly snatched those up, kept one of those properties, rehabbed it. That's cash flowing right now. The other property, I sold it for an immediate profit to help pay for the expenses as far as the rehab for the property I did keep. I've actually learned recently what I did was wholesaling. Wholesaling, you find a property, get out in the contract, you're B, so you sell it to person C. The term is wholesaling when you actually take full legal possession of the property
Okay.
and sell it immediately versus the A to B to C, the
Yeah.
double closing. That was my first experience bringing it back to the auction. In the bigger cities right now, it's very expensive to buy properties. Interest rates are pretty high. I have ties to Birmingham, Alabama, and I was looking at properties out of state. And I was up late one night and I actually came across a private auction. Many of us are familiar with auction.com and the tax sales outside of courthouses. I was looking at Alabama auctions and I came across a private auction. Some of the properties they list, some they do not. I said, this auction is in 3 hours. They don't have them often. I did a road trip almost immediately. I was super tired. Here I am driving across state lines to this auction. I had one particular home on my mind. I did some quick research, how much the home was worth, what was owed on it. I said to myself, if this house is anywhere near what I'm looking to spend, I'm snatching it up. Luckily for me, I went to the auction. Only two other people bid on the house, and it's normally 200 people at the auction. I went right before Christmas and nobody showed up. The guy who did the auction was like, if we knew this little people were going to show, we'd have probably postponed it until after the holidays. So it worked out for me.
You took action immediately. You didn't
Yeah.
wait. So you
No.
seized the opportunity, showed up, hopped in the
Yeah.
car. get right to it. You already knew about this area?
No, because like I said, I'm looking at the Atlanta area where I live, and I was looking
Mhm.
at Birmingham. The area I bought the property was actually in Gadsden, which is about an hour northeast of Birmingham. The only thing I knew about the area was it's right next to Gadsden State Community College, which gained my interest. When I looked at the records, it indicated that this house was worth $90,000, set about $90,000 in the tax records.
Okay.
As we know, the value assessed by the counties and jurisdictions, it's usually less than the actual real world estimate. I ended up getting that property along with the property next door, which happened to be a vacant lot with an ADU. So the person was looking to liquidate their assets completely. I got a free property when I did my financing for this auction, which is really cool because a lot of auctions want the money ASAP. Some private auctions, they're more flexible. So I was able to get this property, this single family, 2-bedroom, 2-bath house that according to the county was worth 80. I got that house and the property next door, including the ADU, all in for 60,000, including my fees. I
Okay.
didn't like, yeah.
Hold on, let's go back. For those that don't know what an ADU is, what's an ADU?
Yeah, an ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. They're becoming more popular. A lot of people, a lot of states, and a lot of companies are allowing people to finance and build of these units. So, for example, you have your main property structure, right? It could be a duplex, single family, and then you have another smaller structure that you can live in. It has a certificate of occupancy, assume it's permitted, right? The ADU that I got actually happened to be on top of a garage. It's about 700 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1-bath on top of a garage. It's over a studio as well. So it's a single car garage next to a studio with a 2-bedroom, 1-bath on top of it. I actually ended up selling that almost immediately. Another hotel situation where I took legal possession. Even though I'm not done with the original flip, I was able to already make money on this deal just because I had two properties. It was already legally divided. It just happened to be owned by the same owner. I listed it for 30,000. I ended up getting 20K for it. And then the house that I'm working on, the projected ARV is expected to be about 160, 165. And like I said, I got the whole deal for 60. I plan on putting just over $40,000 into that single family house. I expect to make before taxes and realtor fees roughly about 60, 65 grand on that. Yeah, there's been some hiccups. I'm not going to lie. I'm acting as the GC, which I wasn't planning to, but I am saving a tremendous amount of money by acting as my own GC and then doing my own designs. I've done my own kitchen design. I'm not paying a kitchen designer or an architect. I did add a bedroom. I'm doing the work legally. In Alabama, they're pretty serious about flips. They have a lot of laws where if you flip a house, you better pull the permit or get someone certified. You could be prosecuted for not pulling permits.
Oh, that's good to know, 'cause a lot of people don't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
So, wow. Wow, they prosecute people like that. I know in
Yeah.
some places they try to get away with as much as possible to get.
Yeah, it surprised me. We joke about certain southern states being lax and stuff like that, but when it comes to flips and even wholesaling, they just passed a new wholesale law or wholesaling a property in the state of Alabama, and you do not inform the person you're buying the property your intention to wholesale, that's a misdemeanor.
Oh,
So you could
that's
pay
good to
6
know.
months in jail or a fine.
That's really good to know because they're trying to change laws across the country. And who was really pushing that was the NAR, the National Association of Realtors,
Yeah.
because they felt like it was more of a competition. Now
Yeah.
they've been hit with multiple lawsuits and
Yeah.
fines. So everybody's trying to take everybody out of the market.
Yeah.
We have a lot of local challenges as well, being in real estate as it is competition. That's if you guys got any questions, drop your questions inside of the comments. And after this, we're gonna also take your questions in as well because he's dropping a lot of he's trying to do flips out there. I don't think you're just gonna do it on the weekend. You got people watching you. Make sure if you're wholesaling in certain areas that you know the rules and the regulations for that particular area about wholesaling. Because it's changed in several states. And that's
Yeah.
because they've been pushing it so heavily for the last couple of years. But now they've been hit with suits of multi-millions of dollars.
Yeah. They will extradite you to Alabama. You're in California, Mississippi. One lady, the house that I sold, I went to a wholesaler, so I was on the contract, and she goes, "Hey, it looks like wholesaling is illegal in Alabama." I go, "It's not illegal." I gave her the statutes. I go, "You just have to do your part to make sure what you're doing is legal and you inform the person that you intend to wholesale it. It will extradite you and put you on a chain gang." And just saw that for the first time in my life in Anniston, Alabama, on my way to the property. They're not playing. They will extradite you for a misdemeanor.
Man, I've heard chain gangs since I was a kid down in Valdosta, Georgia.
That's what I saw in Anniston. I couldn't believe it. I called.
What they're doing in Alabama.
In Anniston, Alabama. I was told in Gadsden they're not that serious, but in certain parts of Alabama, will have you chained, cleaning, picking the field, whatever. I thought of the movie Life, not to get sidetracked, but I'm thinking about Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. It was really surreal seeing that. I've seen people doing community service by the side of the road. I've never seen people chained to each other. I was like, okay, let me hurry up, finish here, and get back to civilization. But deals are getting hard to find. I don't mind going out of state and seeking that. The Atlanta market is extremely tough. Interest rates are high. You're going to have to put a lot of down payment. Luckily, I'm working with some good people that gave me a good interest rate, great deal to where I own that property outright. I was able to sell it because they said, hey, we're not even putting the free property you're getting as part of the security deed. So I owned it outright despite everything being wrapped in one. It's really important to make good relationships, whether it be with realtors, inspectors, lenders, whoever, you know.
So in essence, you got a 2-for-1 deal.
100%. And that's what made it worth it. That's why I took the chance. I wasn't familiar with the area. So look up private auctions. A lot of them, some of them advertise, of course, but you're not always going to find them on auctions or at a tax lien. Wherever you're interested, just type that in, auctions. You'll be surprised at what you find because most people, even in Alabama, weren't familiar with the private auction house that did the auction that I attended.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's nuggets out there. I don't know if I'll recreate this. I may talk to you every year and I never have a story like this again, but that's why it's so important to keep your eyes open and be open. I'm interested in flipping. I'm interested in buying and holding. I'm interested in wholesaling and hoteling. I'm not interested in a turnkey rental right now just because I am addicted to having that built-in equity. Like I rent it, flip it. I really love the idea of taking a property that you got for $20,000, putting $20,000 into it, and it being worth $100,000 versus buying that $100,000 property and then renting it from that point on. That built-in equity is super addicting to me, at least right now, while I have the energy to put into a rehab and get my hands dirty.
Yeah, everybody come into it with a different strategy. Some people want to build cash flow, do wholesaling. Some people want rentals, just a passive income to do it. So everybody have a different strategy. So your strategy is very unique because a lot of people don't think about an auction write-off. I tell people go to the tax sales. I found some really good deals at auctions as well. You got this one at auction.com?
No, that's what I'm saying. It was a private auction. Wow. If anyone cares, his name is Keith Davis. He does all kinds of auctions across the country and even internationally, but he's based out of Alabama. I was just Googling really late at night, couldn't sleep. And I'm like, if I can't sleep, let me be productive with something with real estate. It really worked out. Up until a few weeks ago, I wasn't interested in doing another project in the area, but I really motivated that little community that I'm doing the rehab because in that part of Alabama, they're not used to anyone fixing up a home the way I'm doing it, let alone someone coming from out of state to do it. So now everyone in the neighborhood is putting in landscape edging or getting their bushes hedged that they've never done for years. People will tell you you're inspiring the community. If you can find an underserved area and find the talent to make it work, hone in on that. I got a really good deal to be willing to take a risk for an area I never bought. I don't know any contractors. It is harder to get contractors there, but I wasn't afraid to GC a project myself.
That's amazing. How was it getting contractors together? Because you go to a new area and now you started from scratch.
I do my research. I only have one kind of sketchy story with the contractor. I've never been like ripped off or anything like that. It can happen to anyone, right? People have fake reviews. They show you fake pictures, but really word of mouth. The number one thing for this area is word of mouth. You could go online and Google a lot of the people who had a carpentry business. A lot of it was out of date, even on Google. A lot of people don't update the information. I call and maybe it's a different business, but how I ended up building the subcontractor list is once I found one good person, I'll give you an example. The HVAC guy who I use, he put me on to the electrician that I ultimately end up using. The electrician put me on to the guy who is good with drywall. So I hired him to frame. It had a pretty big living room, so I hired him to do that. That led to me finding the guy with the gutters. Usually good people will refer other good people. That's how I ended up finding most of the people that I used for the work that I didn't do myself. I've removed the driveway. The properties were next to each other. They had a random driveway. Now that I'm selling this house by itself, it doesn't make sense to have a driveway cutting through their property to go to the other property. The next door neighbor is a landscaper, and he referred me to another landscaper who had heavy equipment. And then that landscaper's nephew did tile bathrooms. Some of these people don't have websites and do really good work. like you said, if you're on YouTube all the time, you don't have time to make money in real estate. So a lot of these people, and the really good ones, I'd say, hey, I'm pretty tech savvy. I'll do you a free one-page website. I appreciate you so much. I will do that for you. So it was really word of mouth.
Good people know other good people. And as you build
Yeah.
your connections through good people that you already work with. What an amazing story.
Sure.
So how far are you right now with the project? Are you almost done?
Yeah, I'm probably at the 85% mark. I'm a month behind. I actually got bad news. I'm a month behind because I had a crazy issue with closing. I come from working with townhomes, condos, and crazy HOAs. When I got this property, I'm like, okay, great. It's an auction. It's a single family home, no HOA. What can go wrong? Long story short, closing got pushed back because the closing office and even the lender I went with made a mistake, and they claimed that I needed to bring an additional 10K to closing. I ran my numbers. I was like, I'm sorry, you guys are off. I'm telling the lawyer he was wrong. I'm telling the junior level loan originator he was wrong. Everyone was against me. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't believe this is correct. They were really pushing me to wire this money. It turned out the money was short because of an accounting issue, and the owner owed money. If you do not understand something or you're adamant that you're right, let them show you and explain to you how they're right. And when they're explaining it to me, it didn't sound right and didn't make sense. Long story short, the CEO of the law firm and the SVP, the lender who I personally know in Cobb County, Georgia, came back in, looked at it and go, hey guys, Mike is right. All of that process took a month. And I was like, I'm not touching this house until this is sorted. That pushed me back by 4 weeks, but it's all right. I'm about 2.5, 3 weeks out from being done. Today I found out the wood floors is like hardwood, real hardwood. And so I was super excited because I never had that. I got a call from the company that the seal they put on top of the stain had a bad reaction. They wanted to let me know, hey, they're going to fix it, but it's going to be additional 3-4 days, which is annoying because you can't walk on the floor for about 4 or 5 days. So that pushes time back for me to finish the bathroom, but it's all good. 2.5, 3 weeks out, I should be done. I'm really excited because this is my first full flip of the year, and my goal is 4 to 6. I'm at the point now where realistically, it's probably going to be closer to 4 flips, but that's my year to replace my corporate income.
Congratulations, Michael. You got a very inspirational story that a lot of people can learn from, especially coming out from the corporate world. I find that a lot of people interested in real estate, they come from that corporate world because they find out there's no job stability, no job loyalty there no more. See stuff on the news every day about companies laid off. So I'm really happy to hear your story because it's going to resonate with a lot of people out there looking to get into real estate. Yeah, that story is very inspirational. We want to have you back another time and keep us posted on what you have going on as well. Michael Smith said, I know, have to tell him that you're wholesaling for sure. It's just different term, wholesaling. See, Mitch also said you didn't know it could serve jail time. Make sure you guys are up on your laws out there as well.
They need people for that chain gang.
They would love to have somebody on the chain gang because you go through these towns and it seems like the only thing they're doing is just eating and hanging out. Everything's at a standstill. Mitch said he'd buy in Alabama. Give me your information. Drop your info inside the comment area as well. Mitch, he's down in South Georgia. If you come across some deals.
Yeah, I'll drop my email, and then I'm on LinkedIn as well. If you type in K Michael Shepard, KMSPI, I'm on LinkedIn. I don't do regular social media. I'm really just on LinkedIn, and I have my email here. I'm always happy to learn. I'm always learning from people who have more experience, learning from people who are now entering it, because a lot of people entering it may be on top of something more than you since they're actively all day.
Yeah, they're locked in. They'll come across a deal. You got the experience. They're looking for the money.
Yeah.
Get sold. That's how it works. He dropped his email inside the comments area. I just opened up a little bit more time in my schedule. If you're interested in learning more about real estate and earning more money in real estate, book a call with me. I just opened up 2 more spots on my calendar. Just go to the link inside the comment section. Click on that link, book a call, and then shoot me a message. Let me know the time you book. That way I'll make sure I'm on that call with you to answer all your questions, come up with a strategy for you, and show you what you need to do to make it your best move in 2024 in the real estate game. Thank you so much, Michael. Any last pieces you want to tell anybody out there?
Yeah, the only thing I had on my mind was just run your numbers. It's super important to do that. People like to say, oh, look, you're really good at this. I still feel I'm somewhat still junior, even though I had my foot in this for 3 years. But I think Me not losing money on a real estate deal. I'm only like 4 or 5 deals in right now, and I'm working on my first 2 that I've been doing full time is running your numbers. I run it and assume the worst. If I'm still happy with the worst, I'll pull the trigger on that. The software I use for free is dealcheck.io. It doesn't matter if I'm wholesaling, buying and holding, buying and flipping. I've run my numbers through this. It accounts for my local taxes, my expenses down to the nail from Home Depot. If you want to be that detailed, I like to see how much I'm going to make on a deal and what my post-tax liability is as well. And so, yeah, my last words is really run your numbers, practice doing it. Even if you haven't pulled the trigger on your first deal, if you're thinking about doing a wholesale deal, plug those numbers in, see if it's worth it for you. If you're looking at doing an auction, plug those numbers in, see if it's worth it for you. And that gives me the confidence to go ahead and drive 3 hours across the state line and pull the trigger. Yeah.
Awesome. That's AI. Is that AI?
It's dealcheck.io. Yeah, it's great. It's free software. There does a paid feature, but honestly, unless you're taking a bunch of deals to corporate buyers, you don't need the paid premium version. If you're willing to do your own appraisals through county records, or I know some people frown upon using estimates from Zillow's estimates and other places, but if you're willing to do that yourself, you really don't need the paid version. But yeah, dealcheck.io. I've come across dozens of ways to calculate deals. I love the visual aspect of it. It has the pie charts, the graphs, 3, 4, 5 month hold projections. Here's how much money you'll make if you offload in 3 months versus 7 months. I swear by that from an accounting standpoint for looking at a deal.
Great point. I know you're a really smart guy. You'd like to look at all the different areas, gauge your risk and all that. Thank you so much for hopping in here, Michael. We look forward to hearing more about you, and anytime you're welcome.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Thank you.